Are you drunk already?
Jake, put down the backpack.
Jake,
we are
no.
going on an adventure.
We're gonna have some fun with these.
My house was robbed the other night. Maybe you could read this later. Read it with your friends.
The thieves stole a lot of pot, including the strain you're smoking right now. Friday by 5. Tick-tock.
So what are we gonna do?
We stole drugs. They can't call the cops on us.
It's after 5, now what?
Hello, Donnie.
Come get her! Next.
Who was in my fucking house?
Hello everyone, this is Gruesome Herzog. My very special guest today is actor, writer, director, and producer, and sometimes stunts, Shawn French. How you doing, Shawn?
Good, how are you?
Wonderful. Thanks for coming on today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
The reason why you are in here is because of the movie that you sent me that I absolutely loved, The Wrong House. But if you want, we can start off with two other films that you were in that hasn't been released as of yet. But the first one that you were in 2006 is the Miskatonic Acid Test in 2006. Do you want to give the listeners an idea exactly what this movie is about?
Yeah, it was Miskatonic Acid Test. Unfortunately, it was never released. I think they ran into problems with post with it, which is unfortunate because it was a great script. And the premise was basically, it was kind of like Monterey Pop, but at the end, monsters eat everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was playing the MC of a 1960s Woodstock sort of festival.
Okay.
They had someone, there was a professor there who was trying to open a portal using the Necronomicon and harnessing the energy of dosing all these kids with LSD to help fuel that. So it was a very just trippy, crazy, over-the-top script that I think ultimately just might have been too ambitious, and they couldn't quite get it together in post.
Yeah, and
it was a lot of fun.
I love the tagline it has too. Turn on, tune in, drop dead.
Drop dead. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you played a character of Reed, correct?
Yep.
And it was directed by Rob McKenzie.
Yep, or Dark Lord Rob, as he sometimes goes by.
Nice. Well, the next one. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, he's another main filmmaker, and I mean, I was very fortunate. He was that was the first film work I did.
Right.
So, despite the fact that the movie didn't come out, it was a fantastic experience, and I mean, I really appreciate him kind of getting me started.
Exactly. I mean, now, to be honest, I know you said it was your first film, and I know it's kind of like little upsetting that your first film that that people can't see. But I imagine eventually, sometime down the road, like a lot of films, they might get released like 4 or 5, 6 years later. So hopefully, there's still time for this thing to get out.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him do something with it. I know it's a story he loved a whole lot, and I haven't talked to Rob in a while, but I mean, he's a very driven guy, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it pop up at some point.
Right. And the next film, it's a zombie. It always catches my attention. Yeah. I mean, I watch any kind of zombie. I'm just a weirdo. But this movie is called 2 in 2007, directed by Andy Davis. And go ahead, give the listeners an idea also what this movie's about.
It's basically about a zombie apocalypse. It happens during winter, which is a much more interesting setting, and one I haven't seen done much.
Right.
You don't see a lot of zombies in snow. So it gave some, I think it opened up some doors visually.
Right.
For some really creative shots that you don't get, because blood on snow just looks so good.
It does.
Yeah. So in 2, I was actually working as a newspaper film critic at the time, and I saw an open casting call for zombies. So I'm like, okay, I'll just go to it, write a first-person piece about auditioning to be a zombie, and ended up getting cast as one of the lead zombies, and I think I played 3 or 4 different zombies by the end.
Right.
They just kept putting me in different things because I can take a hit. You know?
Okay, yeah.
I've got a little bit of stunt background, so anytime they needed someone to get decked or, you know, thrown backwards into a tub or, you know, whatever they needed, they just kind of suited me up differently and threw me in there. So it was a blast.
Yeah. And you played, well, it's listed here as a biosuit zombie and a bathtub zombie.
Yeah, among others. Yeah.
Zombie.
Yeah.
Man, I tell you what, you got a zombie in a freezer, a zombie in a car seat.
Yeah. It was.
I can't wait. I would love to see that.
It was a fun flick.
I would love to see that. Hopefully one day.
Yeah, it'll show up at some point. 2 is too good of a movie to have not, you know, come out in any form.
Well,
so I'm sure that's going to pop up at some point. I've seen it a couple times at screenings.
Right.
And it always does really well with the crowd. And it's a fun little film.
I can't. Yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on that. Now, obviously, the reason why you're on here is it's your baby.
Yeah.
We're the writer, the director, and the producer. The Wrong House in 2009. Obviously, some people have seen it. It's going around the festivals, correct?
Yeah, we've done a few screenings, and we'll be released nationally on June 7th.
Nice.
So we were picked up by Lead Entertainment and Slingshot Entertainment, and they'll be putting us out.
Now, as you know, I'm sure you heard me say it in reviews, I'm a big fan of woods horror.
Yeah.
Also, I love the movies where you get chased through the woods, because, you know, a lot of that goes back to my introduction to that type of movie. I mean, as far as most recent was Wrong Turn. That's what really got me into that cannibalism woods thing. It's something about it. It's just neat. Now, your story is basically based on a true story to a point of what happened to you guys. Now, do you want to explain to the listeners exactly where this movie's idea came from?
Yeah. Well, our house was broken into. My wife and I, we played the killers in the film. There was a gap of about an hour between when I went to work and when Sue came home one day. And in that gap, someone had broken into our house and trashed it and stolen a bunch of stuff. And so, I mean, Sue had almost walked in on him. She couldn't have missed him by more than a couple minutes.
Wow.
And I don't know if you've ever had your house broken into or even a car or anything, it fucks with you.
Yeah.
You know, it really pisses you off. It's such an invasion. You know, you just don't fuck with someone's house.
Right.
So we had all this anger to deal with. And once it became obvious that the police weren't going to do anything, like it was 3 days after the break-in, Sue and I came up with a story for this film. And she and I had, about 10 years earlier, come up with a pair of serial killer characters that we always thought would be fun to play.
Right.
And the game was basically, okay, if we were a couple notches crazier, what type of killers would we be? So we came up with Susan and Steve, who kill based on karma. And they go and they pick off pedophile priests, and they pick off wife beaters and child abusers and people that society is better off without.
Right.
You know, they sincerely believe they're making the world a better place. So a few days after the robbery, we got all this frustration. We don't know what to do. I don't even remember which of us said it, but one of us turned to the other and said, "What would Susan and Steve do?"
Oh, my God.
And we immediately knew we had our movie. We were going to take as much of the actual events as we could, play the killers ourselves, shoot at our own house, and, you know, have the actors break into the same window that real thieves did just to piss us off, have them trash the same parts of our house. So by the time we filmed all the break-in stuff, Sue and I mean, it just brought everything right back to the surface. And we're filming only 6 months after the break-in. So, you know, by the time we filmed all the break-in and all the lead-up, we're just bouncing off the walls. So when it came time for the revenge part of the story and the payback, we could really just let loose and, let some pretty crazy stuff happen on screen.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming, now I could be wrong, but I'm assuming that Sue was more angrier, I guess, than you. I mean, of course you're angry yourself, but if the people who did rob your house, the ones that did, and they watched this movie, God help them if Sue would have came home when they were still there.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it, too, was about taking back power.
Right.
It was about finding a way to kind of come to terms with everything. And, Sue was rattled. She had almost walked in on him. And there were, more than one person. And who knows what those kids would have done to protect themselves,
Right.
And cover themselves had she walked in and seen their faces.
Right.
So I think it impacted her to a different level than it did me. I was just angry. I just wanted someone's head because I saw how much Sue was hurting.
Yeah.
But for her, playing this role and really just reclaiming that power, I think was hugely cathartic. It was for me too, but for Sue it was transformational.
Right.
It was something she deeply needed.
Right.
And she poured so much of herself into the performance, and I think that's what fans have been responding to, is just how authentic, and how much of herself she's putting into the role.
Right. And I could tell you one thing. I think horror movies should have their own awards, Oscar awards and stuff, because I'm dead serious, because a lot of these actors and actresses that are in these horror movies don't get ignored because it's a horror film.
Oh, sure.
But Sue, now, in case the listeners don't know who we're talking about, her name is Sue Stevens. She plays Susan. And my opinion, now I told you, my father-in-law watched it with me here, and we were both baffled by her performance. I mean, she, to me, had an Oscar performance in a horror film, because she put so much into that role that she was so damn good at it. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, I'm not saying that you were good also, but you were like the not the sidekick, but you were the...
Well, I was her attack dog.
Right.
He was Susan's attack dog.
Right.
So there wasn't a whole lot of nuance to what I was doing.
Right. You're quiet but deadly. Yeah, you're quiet but deadly. Right. That's the part that... Now, the first guy you grabbed, which I think he was his role was perfect. He had a dickhead role. I mean, I'm not saying he is, but I'm saying his role was really out there, and it was fitting for him to be the first one grabbed. I mean, I'm not saying anybody should be killed. It's a movie, but it's just amazing how you threw in a part of the story too, which I don't want to say too much. People didn't see it, but you also threw in a part of the movie where that one girl you had, and she actually tried to say it was another friend that she don't like, and I thought that was neat. Also, you had every element in here. It was great.
Yeah, well, we were fortunate. We had, Danny Galloway is the actor you were talking about, Donnie, who's the nicest kid in the world. You'd never know watching the movie because he comes across as such a dickhead.
Yeah.
But Danny is the sweetest kid.
Right. And
we were really fortunate in that Danny and the rest of the cast were all up for being as physical as we wanted to go. And we pushed things pretty far.
Right.
I mean, I broke 3 ribs, and, I had to sleep in a recliner for 6 weeks afterwards because I couldn't lie down.
Right.
And everybody, really, really got banged up.
Right.
And especially where we had so much genuine emotion behind everything, the whole point for us, from the very start was blurring the lines. Make it feel as real as we can. So we're not acting out a scene and filming it. We're creating something real that we're trying to capture on film.
Right.
And that was always our approach, and, we went off script a lot for that. In some of the torture scenes, the actors didn't know what was coming next.
That's cool.
And you get better reactions that way.
Right. Now, your injuries. Now, I'm assuming that it came from 2 scenes.
3. I actually broke the 3 ribs at 3 different times over the span of about 4 hours.
Now, was that out the window?
One was going out the window. One was going over that hill, which was sketchy. Oh my God, that was sketchy.
Look,
I can't believe it. On the upcoming release, there's a featurette on the stunt work that shows what goes into that shot, and you won't believe how fucking sketchy it was.
Oh man! Wow.
And then I broke the 3rd one in the kitchen fight scene.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I told you the other day, what makes this movie so good is a lot of movies like this, they always leave the ending. I mean, sometimes it's fun to leave it open or leave it hanging, but you actually had a closure to a point.
Yes.
You were injured. It wasn't like you got up like Jason or Michael Myers did, and look. I mean, mind you, I love Halloween and Friday the 13th. Don't get me wrong. But then the scene that right at the end, which I don't want to say because I don't want to ruin it, is you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Which my father-in-law goes, "Oh, I know who he is." but it was amazing. I mean, I'm not saying it's because I'm interviewing you. I did the review. I mean, I'm honest. I don't lie. If I don't like a movie, I won't review it if it's under a certain score. But this movie I loved it. One aspect I told you before, it involves the woods for one. And I loved how it was made. Setting. Yeah, I love how it was made. And not to mention, it's in Maine. You know? And that beautiful wooded area. But anyway.
Yeah, and we shot the whole movie pretty much within walking distance of our house.
Now, that house that was filmed at, was that actually your house?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did everything there just to make it more real.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
it definitely worked.
Now, how many, I mean, I can go on forever. There's so many clever storylines in this movie, like the camera outside on the outside the property. Yep. I mean, how many movies have you seen that the actual invaders know who broke into their home? That's the part that I thought was neat. That was a different angle as well, Well,
yeah, and I also liked I wanted to have it not just be all out crazy carnage and revenge.
Right.
And by having them, capturing some video of the break-in and start to stalk the kids, and offer them a chance to return everything, that you really get two different aspects of the film. The first, it's kind of a suspense, just creepy film with these two keep popping up all over the place.
Right.
And then once the deadline passes, then we just go all blood and carnage.
Yeah.
And then get pretty crazy.
I thought that was cool, too. You have until 5 o'clock. But that was neat too. But anyways, now, are you thinking about making a new project coming up? Do you have any plans?
Yeah, I'm actually writing something now. We haven't announced it yet.
Okay.
We're still getting everything lined up. But it's a story that I first came up with 20 years ago. So it's been bouncing around my head for a long time, and it's definitely one of the items on my bucket list. It's even before I thought it was reasonable that I would ever shoot a movie, I dreamed of shooting this movie.
Okay.
So it'll be another horror. They're a very different style of fucked up.
But on IMDb, as we know, it has 11 voters has voted so far. Now the turnout there is below average, which that's a lot of IMDb. A lot of people just don't understand horror movies, so you actually have to ignore mostly what they say on there. But now, what was how was the turnout on the screenings? Was it pretty successful, do you think?
Oh, yeah, the screenings have been amazing. The main people really like horror movies. We've got a deep tradition here, it's Stephen King's home territory. So we, the Mainers will definitely come out for horror film. And they also, Mainers have I think, a deeper understanding of the whole protect your home sort of thing.
Right.
There's more of a homestead sort of feel in rural Maine, and you get these kind of break-ins, and a lot of people have had experiences with them. Right. And we've had a lot of people connect very deeply with the film.
Right.
After having gone through a similar experience, which is, always really cool to talk to folks like that after screenings.
Well, actually, that's widespread. I mean, people are really going to be. See, you're like when you watch this movie, you're like confused. Okay, yes, they broke into your home. Okay, yes, and they stole. I'm not going to say why because I'm going to ruin it. But then you have the aspect. Okay, but do these kids actually deserve what they get? I mean, you made it to where it can be easily divided, but it's brilliant.
Well, the other thing I really wanted with the story is to have it not be black and white.
Right.
I wanted everything to be in a kind of moral gray area where you're not sure who you're supposed to be rooting for.
Right.
I mean, because Susan and Steve are crazy and they kill lots of people, sure, but at the same time, they didn't start the fight. You know, they didn't break into anyone's house. They, you know, so it's. I like that gray area. That's a really fun place to play as a writer.
Right.
And this film is almost entirely in that kind of that middle zone where you're not entirely sure who the good guy is.
Excellent. You know, like I said, it just again brilliantly written. I mean, I like the idea of the story. I think it's going to be very successful for you when it gets released in June. Right? The release date's in June.
June 7th. Yeah.
And I can't wait to people get a chance to watch this. I mean, the diehard horror fans, the diehard wooded horror fans. It's going to get a combination of everything. Now, do you have a website for this that you're gonna tell the listeners?
Yes, it's thewronghousemovie.com, or you can find us on Facebook. Just search The Wrong House. We're right there.
Yep, I got both. All right.
I still can't believe that the title was available.
You know,
no one had ever made a movie called The Wrong House.
That's
The Last House on the Left should have been called The Wrong House.
Exactly. You're right.
Yeah, I was blown away when such a kind of iconic phrase had never been done as a film before.
Well, now it's yours.
That was mine.
But anyways, amazing. Like I said, I wish you a lot of success. I mean, it's going to be successful, I think. I mean, I'm just one reviewer. I mean, I know a couple of other reviewers like the film as well, and a lot of them
we've been doing well so far.
A lot of them are out to get it, but anyways, is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you have any special announcements that's coming up besides what we talked about?
No, I think we'll probably be doing a local national launch party sometime in early June. We're still kind of putting that together.
Nice.
And that'll be fun to get the final cut of the film up on a screen for the first time. Because I fully remastered it after we self-distributed.
Right.
Just to get us ready for the national release, and it's such an improved cut of the film. I'm really, really happy with it, so I definitely want to see it in the theater at least one more time.
Now, real quick, I forgot to mention this. Now, was this Sue's very first movie?
It is. It's the first acting she's ever done on any level.
Okay, now, listeners, you heard what Shawn said. Now, I want you guys, when you got the ones who did watch this, you already know, but the ones that didn't see this, I want you to watch Sue Stevens, that's her name, in this movie, and you tell me, for it to be in her very first attempt at acting, and you tell me how she did, because I thought she was brilliant. The whole cast was brilliant, don't get me wrong, but to be a killer, she really, really, really put herself in that role. I mean, you can tell a lot of it was personal. I mean...
Oh, yeah. And the other thing that I think that helped... is she wasn't over the top with any of it.
Right.
It was all very, very organic. It wasn't a manufactured, here's what I think a crazy person's supposed to be like, that I think a lot of actors sometimes do.
Overact.
And instead, she just let everything come from inside and was fearless and just went with it.
Yep. Excellent. Well, you tell her that I said hello.
I will do that.
That she did, like I said, the whole cast was great. I mean, there's a chemistry in that movie that you can tell everybody, gelled together pretty well.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we did to help with that is we had everybody live on set.
Okay.
So for the entire shoot, everyone lived at our house. Just to make them be around each other 24/7.
Right.
And then we'd take the 5 of them and we'd separate them. We're just like, okay, go be friends.
Yeah, right.
Because Sue and I also didn't want to have too much familiarity with them when we started filming our scenes because we wanted them to be afraid of us.
Right.
We wanted to legitimately keep them creeped out, so that they wouldn't have to act scared either, but they'd be kind of sketched out by everything.
Right. Exactly.
And that worked. I think that works in our favor.
Now, real quick, I'll let you go. I forgot to mention this. The opening scene. That was really my father-in-law, like I said, was watching it, and when you heard it on the radio, right? Yeah. And he knew exactly what was coming next. He picked it right out. I mean, I wasn't really picked up on it right away, but he automatically said it. So there's a lot of surprises in this film. Again, it's not like a broken record, but I wish you a lot of success. It's going to be successful, I think. So that said, I want to thank you for coming on, taking time for me.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
No problem. It's a well-deserved interview. I think you have a a future. I mean, what you did with the wrong house, I think it's going to be a start of a brand new filmmaking for you. I think you have the knack.
Open.
So, anyways, thanks again for coming on, Shawn. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And talk again, okay? Keep in touch.
You bet.
Take care,
Okay,
buddy.
bye-bye.
See ya.